The Toyota Sequoia only sees a handful of updates for the 2026 model year, but as always, I'm going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what is new for this 2026 model year, and talk about what it's been like to live with. Let's go ahead and take a look. Sequoias are powered by, well, water and sunlight, but the ones with Toyota badges are powered by good old dinosaur juice and electricity. This is the iForce Max powertrain, and it is standard on all trim levels. It consists of a twin-turbo V6 and an electric motor, which combine for 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque at their respective peaks. Power finds the wheels through a 10-speed automatic transmission and a part-time four-wheel drive system. There is also a two-wheel drive system available in some of the lower trim levels, but this Capstone is going to have the part-time four-wheel drive as standard, as well as an automatic brake actuated electronic limited slip differential in the rear. And despite being a hybrid, fuel economy is rated at 20 miles per gallon combined. Toyota's iForce Max hybrid systems really lean a lot more heavily toward power versus efficiency. Now, despite the name and the massive presence, this isn't actually the biggest vehicle in Toyota's lineup. It measures a couple inches shorter than the Tacoma, even with the short bed, but it is still the biggest SUV in the lineup. It sits at 8.6 inches off the ground, 8.7 is your running ground clearance, but that's in most forms. If you need a little bit more space there underneath, then you can always go up into the TRD Pro, which will get you about a half an inch more, or the SR5, the base trim is a little bit lower down. My Capstone tester is at 8.6. It's also on the biggest wheels of the lineup. These are 22s and they're wrapped in all seasons. The rest of the lineup offers different sizes for the wheels as well as different types of rubber depending on your use case. And one of my favorite things about this Capstone is the power running boards that jut out as soon as you open up the door. This is great for my short self and for my kids getting in and out of here. Just watch out for those at night so they don't jab you in the shin. The Capstone also gets this fancy badge on the side, the chrome mirrors, and the chrome mesh front grille. And again, there are 100 different ways that this can come design-wise depending on what trim level you get. But the one note that is color-related versus trim-related is the pillars here. This one has color-matched pillars only because it is blueprint. If this was in any other color, then those would be gloss black. Keyless access to the front doors is standard with the little touch to lock and touch to unlock here on the inside, as are heated power folding mirrors with the little blind spot monitor indicator in there. And these are auto dimming on the driver's side as standard as well. That's across all the trim levels. There are also tow mirrors available as well. While LED headlights, DRLs, fog lights, and tail lights are all standard, this one being one of the top specs, it also has the auto leveling LED headlights and the sequential turn signals both in the front and the back. Also note the parking sensors all around and the little cameras poking out all over the place, since this does have a full 360 view here in the Capstone. Note no skid plates on this particular one, but on the off-road Focus trims you will get that underbody protection. What you do have underneath is a full spare, and this one can take a Class 4 trailer hitch. You can tow just under 9,000 pounds in the Capstone. This is the worst rating out of the lineup. You can get up to 9,500 pounds of towing capacity if you drop down into the SR5. Kick to open is standard here on the Capstone, and I love that there's a little symbol there. It's a subtle little thing, but it's nice. I know exactly where I have to kick to get this thing to open up. And it opens up into just over 11 cubic feet of space. That is not a ton. And when you drop all the seats down, you're at about 89 cubic feet of space, which is a lot, but with this having all the hybrid running gear, it's actually less than a lot of the competition. And you get this weird kind of situation here with the floor where they give you this little shelf. So it's kind of lowered down here. It's like a step. So I was going to put my dog back here, but I couldn't really put him back here because it's not really flat. And so you just get this like little shelf thing you can move around. Sort of an interesting thing going on back here. But you do have a 12 volt over here, and you do have an easy way to drop these seats down, which is nice. You just power fold them with these buttons, and there are buttons on the inside as well. that you can use. You can see it sort of poking through over there. And these do slide forward and back, so you can get a little bit of extra space here, but then that eats into your third row passenger seat. And then even once these seats are down, it's a little bit wonky here. You still kind of have these steps because it's not a fully flat floor. Because again, you got that hybrid running gear down underneath. Could be a little bit of an awkward situation back here depending on your use case. And of course you got your power closed there. Of course, you can also use the key here for your power open and close, your panic button. And then if you have the Remote Connect subscription, you can either go in through the app to remote start the car, or you can remote start it by double tapping and then holding down the lock button there. But again, only with the Remote Connect subscription. I hate the subscription model, but it's there, and you get a free trial for your first year if you're buying this new. The big updates to the interior for this year are that the limited trim now gets leather trimmed seats, and this Capstone has a shale premium texture. So you get these gray seats with this texture, and that is the only way to get the Capstone. There are no other colors for the interior here. Heated seats are standard, and actually a heated steering wheel is available in all trims, even on the SR5, but standard here in my tester and the Capstone. I've even got ventilated seats here in this one, as well as massage. Now these are still truck seats. They are not the most comfortable. They're not very aggressive on the bolsters, which I wouldn't expect anyway, but there's no adjusting those bolsters. They are very loose, so there's a little bit of bouncing around going on. You do have adjustments on the thigh extension as well as the lumbar support, which is nice, but these do not seem like they would be comfortable for long road trips. I am loving that massage feature though. And the steering wheel is nice and big with nice big beefy buttons. You can use these even if you've got gloves on. They are nicely laid out and nice and easy to use. And you do have separate screens still here. Toyota has not yet combined their gauge cluster and their infotainment yet. The cluster is typical Toyota, and that's not a bad thing. Lots of good information to cycle through here on the left. A couple of pieces of information you can throw on the right as well. Pitch, power, lack of efficiency. Ooh, 16 miles per gallon average. Some extra controls down here behind the steering wheel as well. Your heated steering wheel there being the most notable, and those are sticky buttons over here. So if you have your heated steering wheel on when you turn the car off, the next time you go to get back in, it will still be on, and it's nice and hot. This thing is like burning my hands. I love it. The head-up display in this one is your standard fare. You've got your speed limit, some driver's assist stuff in there, your directions. This one has a compass as well, which is nice. It's getting a little bit dated just in terms of the graphics, but it definitely gets the job done. Infotainment here, Toyota hit Black Friday hard last year and got all the big screens, but it's Toyota's latest system, and it's super easy to use and navigate with standard wireless Android Auto and CarPlay and 360 cam. I mentioned the cameras on the outside as something for the upper specs, but that's actually standard even on the SR5. Same goes for the 3-zone climate with the nice big buttons and switches down below. Again, you can use these even if you've got big beefy gloves on or big meat fingers. You can this is nice and easy to use. I'm glad that they left those as physical controls. Some of your trailer controls down here as well. Your camera, your trailer sway control on the side there, and your auto hold. Wireless charger down here, and your cup holder is nice and out of the way. And you can cover those up if you just want it to look a little bit more classy. Your 2-speed transfer case over here, your drive modes, and then you've got tons of space in here. Got a little bit of room there. You can slide this, you can reconfigure everything, you can pull this up. There's some USBs down here, USB-A, USB-C, all kinds of storage. There's even room for coins. Does the younger crowd know what coins are? Have you heard of toll booths? I guess I'm old now. The digital mirror up top is available on all trims, but it's standard here in the Capstone, and I love this. You want this. Visibility out the back sucks, and this eliminates that issue. Driving a big car like this through a school parking lot, the cameras are just extra peace of mind. Pano sunroof in the upper section is massive. I keep thinking that there's a light on or something back there, because even at night, like the moonlight shining through is so bright. I love that. Second row here is pretty spacious in terms of legroom, and it's got heated and ventilated seats here in this upper spec. All the different controls are down here. You can control your own HVAC and your seats and everything. And there's a 120 down here, as well as a couple of USBs, a USB-A and a USB-C. And again, with this being one of the upper specs, you do have blinders here too. Now this Capstone has the captain's chairs here, so this one is a 7-seater, but just note that if you are looking for an 8-seater, then other specs of the Sequoia do offer a bench in the middle here. Interestingly, these do not slide at all, but you can fold them up and out of the way. As I mentioned before, the third row can slide somewhere between small child and legless, depending on how you want it set up. But the higher floor does make things a little bit tough. Is this slide? Oh, I can't slide it myself. Look at that. I am not legless though, so I'm going to keep it right here. Here at the backmost setting, I do actually have a decent amount of legroom, but because the floor is up so high, I'm running out of headroom quickly. So if you are on the taller side, you're probably not going to want to be back here for very long. You do have blinders back here as well though, which is pretty nice. And you do have some cup holders and some vents. And there's even a USB-C back here. There's one hidden down underneath on that side, but not too shabby of a place to be as far as third rows go, at least as long as you don't have too tall of a torso. When it comes to the drive, this beast drives like a truck. Shocker, right? I mean, it's built on Toyota's latest truck platform. It's body on frame with a big steel ladder frame, steel structure, and then a lot of aluminum panels all around to sort of keep the weight down a little bit. But I keep wanting to call it a Tundra because it drives a lot like the Tundra. And one of the big pieces of it being on the truck platform is it has a solid rear axle. That was a controversial update for this generation because the last generation did not have that. It is at least on coil springs instead of leaf springs, but it doesn't ride super nicely. I mean, it's okay on the smooth pavement. It's just once you start getting into all the imperfections in the road, and around me, there are a whole lot of imperfections in the road. It starts getting quite bumpy and a little bit uncomfortable. There is an adaptive variable suspension option, which hopefully should help with that quite a bit. And that will also give you air suspension in the rear for sort of leveling in case you got a lot of cargo back there. And the suspension setup is a little bit different depending on which trim you get, but this is the one I have here. But as I mentioned in some of the other videos, I actually kind of like the off-road focused suspensions because you get a little bit more bounce. They're made to take the imperfections in the road. So if you are in a place like I am where there's just potholes all over the place, it might be one to consider. It's pretty quick for a big SUV though. It's got a lot more torque than most of the competition, and with the electric motor it means that you can get moving right away off the line. You're not waiting for the turbos to spool up and then give you that big shove. It can just get out of its own way right away. And it gets even punchier when you put it into sport mode. Now, if you get that adaptive variable suspension option that I mentioned, you also get another option on top of sport mode. It's like a Sport S, and then a custom mode where you can set everything up the way you want. Then you also have an eco mode, which is standard, but you know, who's using eco mode? Toyota's 2.5 safety system is standard across the board, which is a good suite of features. It's not the latest and greatest from Toyota. It's not quite as dialed in as the 3.0, but it's still a good set of features. You got the pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, pre-collision, the full speed radar cruise. It does have the lane tracing, but that one, I mean, the 2.5 really is far behind the 3.0 when it comes to lane tracing, like on the highway if you want to keep yourself centered in the lane. But generally speaking, it's a nice set of features, and then that mixed with all the different camera views is definitely super helpful. Nothing super overbearing, not too many beeps and boops and loud noises getting in the way. The cameras I mentioned, so you have the digital rear view mirror, which I mentioned, which I love that feature because I can just see everything out the back, no problems there. And then the big mirrors on the sides give me great access to the blind spots. Though if you do have to turn, I have like this oblique angle near my house where that B-pillar is really super in the way. But outside of that one turn in my area, everything else I can see pretty well out of. And then so the other camera angles through here, there's a zillion different camera angles that you can set up in the infotainment. You can tell it what your preferences are, and there's even an automatic option so that once you pull up close to something, it will just turn the camera on. But it's more aggressive than like your typical car is, where the parking sensors will set that off. This is like, even if a car is further out than a typical parking sensor would sense, then the camera starts to come on, and it's a little bit more distracting than some of the other systems, which you just back off the sensitivity on when that camera comes on, or you just turn off the feature, which is what I've done. And of course, when it comes to handling, it handles on rails. If your definition of handles on rails involves vintage trains going around corners really quickly. ultimately, the driving experience here is nothing really to write home about. Not that it was expected to be. You know, it drives like a tank, a quick tank, but a tank. That's kind of what you're getting yourself into when you're buying a big 3-row family hauler. At the end of the day, the Sequoia is quite a nice vehicle to live with, especially when it comes to available features, power, and space, but it does come at a price. It starts just over $60,000, and this Capstone is over 85 grand. You're well into Defender territory at that point. Then again, that's kind of just what these cost these days. A Suburban is going to give you about the same price range there, just over 60 to about 85. Same with an Expedition. But my real issues are in the back of the car, in the third row, as well as in the rear cargo area, where you have the sort of awkward heights going on. It's just, you got the hybrid running gear eating into the space, and you end up not getting as much space as a lot of the competition, and you also are just contending with those awkward heights if you are trying to stack stuff back there or get a pet back there or whatever it is you're trying to do. It just is a little bit awkward there. And the hybrid running gear ultimately isn't really saving you anything in terms of fuel economy. It is helping with the power though, so there is a bit of a trade-off there. As always, let me know what you think about the 2026 Toyota Sequoia down in the comments. If this isn't quite doing it for you, I do have a couple of other big 3-rows coming. I've got a Wagoneer as well as a GMC Acadia. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.